It's time for Southern Fried Baseball, presented by College Baseball Central. Hosted by Jake Mckeever as he talks everything SEC baseball and more.
Welcome in, College Baseball Central fans. Back here again with our Week 9 recap, if you will. Both of us are rocking game-worn hats, if you will. Me in my Baylor hat. Big shout-out to Mitch Thompson and the boys of Baylor for hooking me and Mike up with hats and hooking us up with a walk-off victory on Sunday. We got to see, I think, one of the best shortstops in the country in Tyreek Kemp. And we got to see Oklahoma State again. Andrew, I like the hat, man.
Yeah, big shout out to my wallet for letting me get one of these hats.
The wallet stays undefeated. The hats do mean a little bit more when you personally buy them.
Yeah, I mean, it was my last game of the box for this season, so just might as well splurge on a hat. So.
Yeah, you should have had, Jay Johnson or maybe Cokie Riley sign the hat for you.
I was thinking of it, but no. I'll get them to sign in Omaha when hopefully we see them later.
That's a bold take that I'm sure Andrew will not regret saying, like some of the things I've said. Let's start with the games that we saw Thursday, which if you might have forgotten, because I know I kind of half did. South Carolina took on the Auburn Tigers. Auburn won all 3 games. They did one Thursday, 2 Friday. Thursday was just an absolute bludgeoning of South Carolina as Auburn won 24-2 in 7 innings. Then from there, it was a 11-10 and then 11-3 in that one, if you will. Positives for South Carolina. They did score first. They did chase Cam Tilley after 5 innings. They had 5 hits. That's about where the positives ended, if you will, for South Carolina.
The positives are the season's almost over. The negative is you're welcoming in the number 1 team in the country and your head coach's former employer. And, it was all Auburn this week. I mean, we saw it. Eric Guevara got SEC Player of the Week. We probably missed him in our Player of the Week. He did.
I don't know. We had a lot of pitchers.
Yeah, I think it was all pitchers, and then shout out Mizzou.
Yeah, shout out Mizzou. Chris Rembert had 6 RBIs. I posted a graphic today with Derek Riedell and Dylan Valentis asking people who should be the freshman of the year. I'm going to be honest. Chris Rembert's falling a little bit under the radar. I think he deserves to be in that conversation. He's had a tremendous, tremendous year. He had 6 RBIs. I think Rembert should be in that conversation.
He should be. His stats have been phenomenal all year. He's the leading hitter on this team. He's hitting .358. He has flown really under the radar because when you look at this Auburn team, it feels like we just keep on talking about Ike Irish, Cooper McMurray, Chase Fralick.
They sit at number 6 in the country, by the way, and I wanted to get your thoughts on them sitting at number 6 in the country.
Auburn?
Yes.
I have them as number 3 in the country in my rankings.
Is that based on projection, how they finish in the season, or more resume?
I think both. Next week they end the season with Ole Miss, and I like with how they've been playing. I like how they finish. I like how they project going in, and their resume has been strong.
Yeah, they have a really extremely strong resume, like you said. I believe they have an outside shot to win the SEC if everything, or not win the SEC, get a Final Four if everything kind of falls their way. Sit at 16 and 11 in the SEC, then get to that magic number 17. I think that they'll host. Period. It's a really high quality team. Who they really remind me of is the 2022 Virginia Tech Hokies. They have a good frontline starter. They have some big league talent, if you will, but they're really kind of flying under the radar a ton, if you will. I really like the season that Auburn's put together.
Yeah, ever since they got swept by Texas last month, it's just been pure domination. They beat Georgia Tech in the midweek. They shut them out. They take 2 out of 3 from Mississippi State, nailing the final nail in Chris Lemonis's coffin. They go take 2 out of 3 in Knoxville, and then obviously just absolutely belt to ass over.
Belt to cock, if you will.
Yeah.
Chris Rembert sits at 358, 13 points higher than Ike Irish. He's played in one more game because remember Ike Irish had that injury. He has one more plate appearance, same number of hits. Really high quality one. I really like Chris Rembert. I think he's going to be in this league for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, and it feels like this pitching staff's just been getting better and better. I mean, Sam Dutton's been phenomenal.
Yeah, we keep talking about, is he going to come down? Is he going to come down? He really hasn't. He's got that 2.86 ERA. They didn't speed him up last week because they pitched him on Friday. I really like Cam Tilley, too. He had probably this pitching outing of the year. Christian Chatterton has just been a roller coaster, and I think the best way possible.
Yeah.
He pitched, I think, pretty decent, if you will. I think that this is a team that's, set to host a regional. They're probably going to get Georgia Tech like they always do.
Yeah.
And they're set up really, really well going forward. I really like just the talent that this Auburn team has.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and move on to, I would say, the biggest shock of the weekend, if you will. In a team fighting for their lives in postseason, the Kentucky Wildcats immediately flipped the script. They got to that 13-win mark, sit at 13-14 in the SEC. Kentucky sweeps Oklahoma, who kind of had that outside shot to be a host. I feel like those hopes are kind of dashed, if you will.
I thought we were going to be talking about a whole different series.
We'll save that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I was shocked this weekend. Every time I kept on watching it, it was just Kentucky getting runners in scoring position and just absolutely – they beat Kyson Witherspoon. I mean, it was just really –
Yeah, it chased him in the fifth. I will say this. I don't think he pitched bad, but he has this weird thing where he pitches absolutely lights out against the best lineups in the country. And then against these lineups that you think he could kind of rest against, and, it's like, okay, he'll go 7. That's where he really kind of struggles, is with these kind of mid-tier SEC offenses, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't do crazy damage off of him. They only got 4 earned off of him, but 4 earned is enough to
only 4 Ks though. I think that was kind of a bigger story. The other one is Dayton Taki is starting to kind of take some swings, if you will. Mason Hamlin's been playing there. I don't think he's played bad by any stretch of the imagination, but that they're definitely missing Dayton Taki. Easton Carmichael felt like it was the only one from a lineup standpoint that really kind of showed up this weekend. He had a ton of really high quality at bats. And then from there, it was kind of like, what are we going to do? Obviously, in that third game, Kyle Branch had it, but I think Easton Carmichael is the only consistent offensive bat that they have. I think that they're a very streaky offense.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen Jackson Willits and Trey Gamble. They've both tried, they both have had opportunities to get it going. Same with Kyle Branch. They've
Dason Harris.
Yeah, they've shown Walker.
They have a lot of known guys in this lineup.
Yeah.
But I feel like the only one you really fear is Easton Carmichael.
Yeah, I mean, Easton Carmichael is probably the most dangerous hitter in this lineup.
I think he's first team SEC. I want to go on record and say that.
As a DH?
Yes.
Yeah. I can say that, yeah.
I think that's right. But they have to get a little bit more from Kyson. They play Texas this weekend. But for Kentucky, man, they pretty much locked up their tournament, I would say. They're going to be the 13th SEC team, I believe.
Yes.
Tyler Bell's been a really, really impressive. But I think the one that really sticks out to me is Cole Haig. And again, we've talked about it all year. They got a great start from Mckeever on Sunday, going 6 innings, only 2 runs allowed. They got into the 6th inning with Nick McKay. He pitched good enough. But, I mean, it's a pest of a lineup, I would say. They just foul balls off a ton. I mean, this is just I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's going to come off as a negative way. They are the most stepchild of the SEC that just lives to piss people off. And I absolutely am here for it. Everybody in the league just like everybody in the league hates Tennessee because they're arrogant to some degree, everybody hates Kentucky because they're corny. And I absolutely love that that's what their identity is.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I was watching the 2023 Super Regional replays today when they lost to LSU.
Insane poll.
Yeah. This Kentucky team, they're very just like scrappy, your typical, like not even typical, because you look at like this is a much different team than they were last year.
You know what they remind me of? And again, I don't mean this in an insulting way. They remind me of a high-end mid-major that they're like a 3 in the tournament, and they're just a pest the entire weekend that they're there.
Which is funny because they'll probably end up knocking out a mid-major that ends up losing their conference.
Like a few years ago, like Cal and A&M played in a regional. They kind of remind me of this one. They remind me just of, a mid-major pest. There's nobody in the lineup that you're like, oh man, like we have to make sure we're very, very careful about this guy. Like if this guy comes up with runners on, like we'll pitch around him. There's nobody in that lineup that, really does that. But, Tyler Bell at the top is going to be a top 10 pick next year. Luke Lawrence is an absolute pass. Cole Higgs had a monster weekend. And then from there, they've been sliding in a few different things, playing matchups, playing guys that are hot with James McCoy, Kais Garrett. So they can really do a lot of things with this lineup. I think it's one of the deepest lineup. There's about 13 guys that I think Minge trusts in this lineup. And again, that was really on display this weekend against a high quality OU team.
Yeah, I mean, they've always been like they've kept it under the radar. And
how do you feel about this OU team, by the way? Like they sit at 13 wins in the SEC. They have some highs as well, and they also have some lows of lows.
Yeah, I mean, they're just very inconsistent as an SEC.
I think that's the perfect way to describe them. I think their peak is peak.
Yes. I mean, their offense is hit or miss. Easton Carmichael, hit or miss. Pitching, Kyson, like you can guarantee a win, but you need to at least get 2 or 3 runs to support that. Cade Crossland, inconsistent. He's been very good. And then Malachi Witherspoon, I don't know what's been going on with him there. Like, he's just not had a good season. And
it's been definitely the season that, like, you would have not expected from him. I mean, they get swept by Kentucky. They got swept by LSU earlier. They did win a series against Vanderbilt. They did win a series against Ole Miss. They did drop a game to South Carolina. Like, they feel like one of those, I would say, not arrogant SEC teams, but they're going to be an SEC 2 somewhere. And they could either make it to a super regional and no one will really bat an eye, or they'll lose really early and no one will really bat an eye. That's what they kind of feel like with me. They remind me a ton of Vandy last year, I would say, where it's like, they're going to be a 2, and it wouldn't shock me to see them come out of that regional, but it also wouldn't shock me to see them lose.
Yeah, I see them. They're not going to be a high 2. They're going to be like a low 2, high 3, I think. That's where I would project them right now.
You have them as a 3? I mean, we'll talk about this next team, about the teams that damage their postseason reputation. But you think in a week they fell from fringe host to fringe 2?
I mean, with the way they're showing, yes.
They do get Texas this weekend, who is number 3 in the country right now, and playing
top 5. They're top 5. But Oklahoma's RPI right now is 26. So that would have them. If we're going strictly off of RPI for seeding, obviously that wouldn't happen because that would have Oregon State as a host. And I don't believe Oregon State should be a host right now. Oklahoma, that would be.
They are going to be a host, though, by the way.
Oregon State, you think?
Yes.
Oh, God.
I don't see a world where they don't host. But we'll do that for kind of our mid-major stuff.
Yeah.
Next, we'll transition to, I would say, probably the biggest surprise / not surprise as the Texas Longhorns snapped their 4-game SEC losing streak, but ultimately lost the series to the Florida Gators. Florida took 2 of 3. Here's an interesting stat for you. A team that started 2-10 or worse in the SEC has never made the NCAA tournament, and Florida started 1-11, and they're likely going to be a host. This is without a doubt the single hottest team in the country, and I don't even think it's particularly close.
Yeah, I mean, you said this is a surprising result. It's not surprising for me and you. Me and you
Yeah,
have
we
been
both picked Florida, I believe, right?
Yeah, we both picked Florida. We've both been like hinting at this that we were going to choose Texas for the last like 2 weeks. I mean,
Florida won this series, by the way, with 9 position players.
Yes, Justin Nadu got hurt, or not hurt. He got sick at one point that he had to miss Saturday's game. He was on,
which is a funny story, by the way. That I'm not one to really make excuses. I'm just going to present to you a fact, and you can draw whatever conclusion you have to it. Ruger Riojas did have a 100-degree fever, as did most of the Texas team. They were immediately under the weather Friday. I'm not sure how many of that carried over into Saturday or Sunday, but they were so sick they got Florida sick. So Ruger Riojas is chasing the first after 1 out, 6 runs allowed, back-to-back subpar starts for him. What does Texas do? I feel like they have no consistent arm outside of Luke Harrison.
You're not going to speed up Luke Harrison 2 days this week to have him go Thursday. I think you're just going to kind of.
Are you stuck with Ruger?
You're stuck with Ruger for right now. You're stuck with Ruger, and
I muted you instead of me. That was my bad.
Don't count. What I was saying.
Technical difficulty.
I think they're stuck with Ruger. I think they keep Harrison on Saturday for right now. They already locked down a top 4 spot in the SEC tournament where they would only have to win 3 games to win the championship. So, I mean, you're going to go Ruger, Harrison, and then maybe you just reevaluate your bullpen. Kind of do what like LSU's doing. Like, okay.
Or the Auburn method? Do you use the Auburn method?
Yeah. Like, okay, like we didn't use Max Grubbs that much. He only threw like 10 pitches on Friday, which 10 to 15 pitches on Friday.
So I have a theory. And Max Wiener's a big analytical guy, right? And it's a theory that you use your closer when you have the most high leverage, not in the 9th inning. Do you see a world where they go Ruger for 3 and then they have Volantis get him into that deep into the bullpen, keep him in the game?
What's the most Volantis has thrown this year?
Volantis was a starter projection at the beginning of the year, by the way. Like coming out of fall camp, they wanted him to be the Sunday guy, but they were really worried about his arm health. So they had Ruger start as the Sunday guy with the expectation that the second Ruger kind of slips, if you will, that Volantis will get slid into that Sunday role. Obviously, Ruger never slipped, so he never got to be in that Sunday role, and he found himself as the back-end bullpen guy. So he does have the ability to start from a health standpoint. He's done multiple times in weekends. What do you think of Flores' start on Sunday?
I mean, it was okay. I watched it. I watched some of it. It was just like
I don't think he finished hitters.
No,
and I think I kind of said the same thing with Liam Peterson on Saturdays. I felt like he didn't really have good feel for his off speed, and he still pitched the way that he did. But I mean, they brought Burns back on back-to-back days. Obviously, he's still under that 20 inning mark, so he hasn't pitched a ton. But do you think that they have to stick with Burns, right? Do you think Burns kind of earns himself more of those innings?
Yeah, I think Burns can. And I think I really like Thomas Burns too.
He pumps it. He touched 99 when I was there on Saturday.
Yeah, so I mean,
obviously, the ideal thing is to have Ruger pitch into the 5th, if you will, pitch into the 4th.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have to feel really good about Grubbs. I mean, Grubbs threw 66 pitches, pitching 4 2/3. You have to feel really good about Burns coming in, pitching on back-to-back days. Volantis, they really haven't had a chance to use him from a high leverage standpoint, as he only pitched on Saturday. The Texas lineup's got to just have higher quality at bats, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I texted you before, before they exploded for the 4 runs to win the game on Saturday, saying that this lineup doesn't look awake. That Jonah Williams, the only guy that showed up this weekend after his whole hype up situation on Friday.
Yes. What were your thoughts on that, by the way?
I think it was dumb because they were down 8-1 or 7-1 at that point. As a pitcher, like if he was doing that to me, I was like, okay, just go take your base. It's not bothering me. It bothered me more that he did it down 7-1 than like being the pitcher that walked him.
I had no issue with it until Cantu, the first base coach, got between him and Donay. Like, if you're going to talk your shit the entire way down the first baseline, you can't hide behind your coach.
No.
That was the only issue I had with it. He is talented enough to run his mouth.
Yes.
He is also talented enough to back it up. Let him back it up.
Yes.
Like, that's the only part that I really took issue with. And then when Sauce came out, I was like, okay, that's the only thing that I had issue with. Jonah Williams did leave Saturday's game, but it was a cramp. He ended up being completely fine.
Yeah, all those kids are sick anyway, so probably.
Yeah.
You probably
I'll
have
say
to
this.
pick and choose your battles.
Texas has to be thanking their lucky stars that Saturday played out the way that it did.
Yeah, because, I mean,
Peterson was rolling. He was at 66 pitches in the 5th inning. He just allowed a leadoff walk. He only allowed 2 hits. And then, you get an hour and a half rain delay, and Florida saves Clemente, if you will. They go through a cycle of bullpen arms. Christian Rodriguez, I believe, pitched back-to-back days, by the way. And then you blinked, and it was 5-1 or 5-2?
5-2.
You blinked, and it was 5-2, and it was like, okay, like Florida's offense really doesn't have the juice. They went Harrison, Volantis. Florida didn't have a hit, if you will, post-rain delay. It was just – I will say this. Rain delays always favor the home team because they can go hang out in the clubhouse while the visiting team has to kind of sit in the dugout, if you will.
Yeah, we saw it with Vandy and Tennessee last night.
We saw it with Tennessee and LSU a few weeks ago. We saw it with Arkansas and Texas.
Yeah, I mean
I would love to see the stats, by the way, on rain delays favoring the home team. Because that was really the only offense was in that inning. Jonah Williams hit that triple, and then Texas hit 2 home runs. Shout out to Occupy Left Field, who offered up $1,000 to the next guy that hits a home run. Galvan, apparently. Jonah Williams showed it to Galvan, and Galvan hit it. And he was when they were in the dugout, he goes, "Sorry, little pup, had to big dog you," or something along those lines. Or the big dog's got to eat.
Yeah.
Florida, they are good, by the way. Like, you look up and down that lineup, and there's not a lot of high average guys, but you're like, yeah, I fear Blake Sear. I feel Brody Donay. Hayden Yost is a dude. Ashton Wilson's a gritty college player. Luke Heyman can bang the ball over the yard. Like, it's a good lineup.
They're doing this all without their 2 top hitters, too, Cade Curlin and Colby Shelton.
Yeah. What do you think the timetable is for Colby Shelton? Is he done for the year?
Yeah, I think he is.
Unfortunately, I'll have to reach out to somebody.
Just because
I'll give you an update on that when I hear back from it.
Yeah, just because of how short it is. I mean, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you are going to be playing Tuesday. So, yeah.
We will move on into another one that was pretty exciting, if you will. Which one do you want to do next? I'll let you pick.
We
got Bama, Georgia, We got Ole Miss, Mississippi State. We got Vandy, Tennessee. Got Arkansas, LSU. And we got A&M, Missouri.
We'll save the Missouri and A&M one for last if you want. Let's do Georgia and Alabama.
Okay, that one was a fun one, if you will. Georgia, again, the road dogs, or lack of a road dog, went to Alabama. They absolutely demolished them Friday night.
Yeah.
They tried to get in a doubleheader that day. Rain, unfortunately, pushed it back to Saturday, which, of course, pushed it back to Sunday. Georgia was up early on them, but then Bama battled back. Bama actually ended up taking the series with a little bit of an asterisk, if you will, as they had a one-run victory, only pitching into the seventh. They were able to do Zane Adams to Carson Osmer, the most deadly combination in all of the SEC. Oz threw twice this weekend, as he also threw Friday. Does this tell you more about Bama, or does it tell you more about Georgia?
Tells me more about Bama. It tells me that they're still
fighting.
Yeah, they're still fighting. They're not. You look at it, they almost got the same record, these two schools. It shows that LeBron isn't
Did you see the hype video that they dropped?
No, not yet.
Oh, I am so unbelievably back on Justin LeBron.
It's literally that. Justin LeBron had a hell of a weekend to kind of get him back going at the right time. Do
we want to alert the media about Georgia being 10-10 away from home, 3 of those being to Missouri, and 3 of those being to Florida at the beginning of the season? Do we hold that against them?
No, because Florida has been picking it up. I'm not going to comment on Missouri because Missouri is still Missouri at the end of the day. I'm not going to take it against Georgia. I think Georgia's been a stellar team all season. They have been a little inconsistent in SEC play, but they still have been a really good team. Brian Curley, he didn't have his best stuff on Friday in that game, but their bats just exploded.
They exploded. They're very capable of having games like that. Obviously,
they were down 3-1,
19 on
3-1 going into the top.
It was 3-1. They have just an
18-0 run
in 3 innings with 9 outs.
8, 3, and 7. How about that? You're going into the 7th. You're telling your boys in the dugout, hey, 2 more. We go into the bottom of this inning. We just need 3 outs. What do? You go out there and you score 7 more. And it's okay, there's a little breathing room. We don't have to worry about choking up 6 runs.
Yeah, we just need 1 run, yeah.
Yeah.
For Bama, I think that this is just one of those ones where, we talked about it, about how they probably didn't feel as good about Zane Adams being a Friday guy against other Friday night guys in the SEC. So they're okay, we'll throw Tyler Fay, see what happens. And then we feel really good about Quicker Adams. This is the ultimate Bama chess match game, if you will.
Yeah, credit to Rob Vaughn. He's kind of figured it out. It's if
this is a magician type, or a matador. We need to do a Rob Vaughn's a matador, if you will, where he's flashing the red and then he pulls him out. He goes, "Gotcha. We got Riley Quick and Zane Adams going the next 2 days."
Credit to them. Riley Quick and Zane Adams have been phenomenal in Saturday and Sunday rules. It will be interesting to see how it plays out in the postseason now, because you're not going to go out there and throw Tyler Fay game 1 of a regional, I think. I think you're going to end up throwing Riley Quick or Zane Adams because you want to put yourself in that 1-0 game, not fighting for elimination right off the bat. So, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be really intriguing to see what the committee does with Alabama, because they were one of the hottest teams in the country at the beginning of the year. I believe they peaked at number 5. They sit at 15-12 in the SEC. If they can get to 17 wins in the SEC, they have to be a host, right?
Who,
That's
Alabama?
The magic number.
Alabama or Georgia?
Alabama. Georgia's at 16.
Yeah. I like Alabama to host. a couple weeks ago, it was me deciding over Alabama or Georgia. Not Alabama or Georgia. Alabama or Oklahoma for a hosting spot. It's kind of flip-flopped. I think Alabama's going to host now.
It's Alabama and Tennessee for me. I think that's the final one.
Yeah, they both got tough ones this weekend.
Yep. Georgia does not have a tough one this weekend.
Well, Alabama's got the hottest team in the land, the Florida Gators. And then
Florida might get a host.
Yeah, that's like this might be a legitimate hosting.
I think that they are 15-3 since they started 1-11, by the way. So they've just been sweeping the hell out of everybody. Yeah. Probably the chippiest game, if you will. The battle for the Volunteer State. The Tennessee Volunteers hosted the Vanderbilt Commodores. Both teams willing to lay claim to they run the state. I felt like that was said a lot this weekend. Yeah. We had a Saturday doubleheader delayed, I believe is what it was, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of delays with this one, but I mean, Liam Doyle still shoved on Friday.
Yeah, Liam Doyle absolutely shoved like he always does. I think he's the best pitcher in the SEC. J.D. Thompson was good, just not good enough, if you will. And then that bullpen for Tennessee did just enough, giving you a little bit of tease, a little bit of worry down there at the end.
Yeah.
Saturday, they completely flipped the script. Again, it was them running all over Marcus Phillips, chasing him in just the fourth inning. The bullpen really didn't give them a big boost at all as they dropped that one. Tony V, went on a press conference after and said, hey, we have to be better at controlling the run game. That's completely on the pitchers. And then Sunday, like you said, 7-5. Tennessee had the bases loaded in that bottom of the ninth. Left 12 guys on base to Vandy's 3. They out-hit Vandy 9-11. Ultimately, that they don't win it. This felt like a Tim Corbin type of series, if you will.
Yeah, it did. I mean, this was like a perfect little game of chess for him. He kind of just it felt like he was playing the toxic boyfriend in a relationship, just kind of just egging on Tennessee the whole weekend. He was just sitting there and doing these little things. I mean, Tennessee kind of was also being that toxic girlfriend by deciding in the 11th hour on Saturday night that they were going to wear black again on Sunday, forcing Vandy to wear their white pinstripes.
They wear the white pinstripes again on Sunday?
Yes, because they had to. They didn't. I guess they didn't bring their gray uniforms.
That is utterly hilarious.
So
Tennessee's worn gray at home before too.
So it was just Tennessee trying to play Big Brother in this series, but I mean, you got to remember who does run that state. I get that Tennessee did win the national championship last year, but you got to remember Tim Corbin has been running this state for a lot longer than most of these Tennessee fans have probably been following Tennessee baseball.
They've now lost 5 of 6, by the way. Do you start to hit the panic button if you're Tennessee?
Yes and no. Yes, because it's going to be a problem when your pitching and your bullpen has not just been as dominant as it's been advertised. You've had maybe 2 or 3 pitchers off the top of my head that have been dominant this year. They're dominant or good. Liam Doyle's been dominant. Tegan Kuntz has been good. I mean, Dylan Loy, he kind of rattled the bed in game 1 on Friday. I mean, then the offense, it's like they live by the long ball and they die by the long ball.
Luckily, they play Lindsey Nelson, I should say.
Yeah.
And the other silver lining, if you will, if you're Vol fans, that Tennessee is probably going to have to go on the road. They're 8-4 on the road. 11-4 if you include those Houston trips and neutral sites. So they're pretty dang good on the road in the SEC.
Yeah, but I think it's going to get tested again this weekend at Arkansas. At Arkansas, they're going to be playing for a little bit more now still. They're going to be trying to beat the lazy second half Dave Van Horn allegations, as you may say.
These Tennessee series have just been just a gauntlet, by the way. Like they
Yeah,
played LSU, they played Arkansas, they played Vandy.
but this is supposed to like really show us what Tennessee is, and it like, I mean, we saw it at LSU. I was impressed by the way they fought, but like they bent,
Just
they
lost.
crumbled. They
I
crumbled.
mean, maybe it's a theory of they're getting all of these out of the way, though.
No, I don't think so.
By the way, I did want to bring you a little bit of an updated stat. Tennessee is 25-2 against teams with an RPI below 50, what I would consider bad losses. Those two would be to Texas A&M, which is starting to look like a really, really bad loss. RPI of 15, going the completely wrong way, if you will.
Well, let me make one last comment for any Tennessee fans watching right now. So you did mention it. You mentioned that a certain team might be hosting the Oregon State Beavers. So popular airlines that fly to Corvallis, Tennessee, from Tennessee, Frontier, and Delta. So Tennessee fans, if you want to get ahead of that, because if Tennessee loses this series to Arkansas, they will most likely be going to Corvallis, I think.
Yeah, I should say this with Tennessee. I think that this is going to be a very, very, very important 3-week stretch, if you will, for the history of Tennessee baseball. With revenue sharing, that's kind of turned into a very big deal. Tennessee is really, really invested in football. They're really invested into a basketball team. You can't have everything, if you will. So Tennessee is really going to have to show that they are an elite baseball program and make the casual fan buy in, or Tennessee is going to go back.
Let me ask you this. Do you think Tony V might be a little distracted right now?
No comment. No comment.
I mean, it might be house shopping. I mean,
yeah, Starkville, Mississippi with $1 million a year salary is a great place, right?
I mean, the good thing about that is
it's only 4 hours from New Orleans for Tony.
I mean, he is married. I thought he was single.
Yeah, is he married? I didn't think he was married. I can be honest with you. I only see him on a baseball field. So
he got engaged last month.
Oh, congrats to right. Let's go ahead and
I was gonna say he the hard thing for him is he's not gonna have to convince a wife to move to Starkville.
Let's send a big congratulations to Tony Vitello on his engagement to his lovely partner. She's a very lucky woman. Unfortunately, to the women of college baseball, Tony V is now a taken man. So we'll probably see Tennessee viewership drop, if you will.
Which is funny because we did see a funny moment at the Tennessee LSU game after his media availability on Saturday.
That was a pretty funny moment. But let's move on to, like you said, LSU. They take 2 of 3 from Arkansas. They, by a wing and a prayer, beat Zach Root behind a great start from Cade Anderson. Saturday, they absolutely dominated against Gage Wood. And then Sunday, Arkansas was able to get that salvage. That 13-3 game, let's talk through it. Gage Wood looked really good the last 2 weeks. Looked really bad against Texas A&M in his first start. And he didn't have, I think, very good feel for his off speed this past one.
No, I mean, I don't want to say the pressure got to him or the lights got to him. I think it was just like an off start for him.
That happens.
Yeah, I'm a really big Gage Wood fan. So
I am too.
Not being able to go watch him throw made me a little sad. But I did talk with Nate Thompson on Sunday. I asked him is there any concern for a guy like Gage Wood who dealt with an arm injury earlier this season, and then he kind of just he flatlines like that out of nowhere. Is there any concern about that? He's like, no, just we just got to keep on a consistent path going into Hoover. That's all we have to focus on right now.
Yeah, he is on a very, very strict pitch limit when I talked to them up at Arkansas. Because remember, he got pulled before.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be fine. I think he's still trying to figure himself out. You'd much rather him have a bad. I know it's weird to say this. You'd much rather him have a bad start now than a bad start in 2 weeks. I feel like he's been really locked in on cloud nine. Same thing with Aiden Jimenez. He gets chased after getting only one out. And then Gabe Gack ultimately took the loss, but I think he was fine as kind of mop-up duty, 31 pitches for him.
Yeah.
I think those two guys, I was going to throw in Root, but I think everybody knows Root, are the single two most important guys in this Arkansas pitching staff, right? Aiden Jimenez and Gabe Gackle.
Yeah.
Long outings from those two.
Yeah, Jay Johnson hit on it when Oregon State came into the regional a couple years ago, 2023. Jimenez went 6 innings against Sam Houston.
I was there.
Yeah. He was raving over that. He said, like, we know the damage Aiden Jimenez can do. And for us to able to work at bats, like Aiden Jimenez is one of the best strike throwers in the country.
Yeah.
He came into this weekend with 4 walks, and he is now doubled that in this past weekend. He threw twice. Sunday, even like yesterday, he didn't look as 100%. He got enough out of his pitches to put Arkansas in a good spot Sunday for Parker Coyle to come in and finish it. But Friday, he was just like LSU probably worked their best at bats of the season Friday against him, and then Saturday, that whole game.
Yeah, they were pretty locked in with him. For reference, he was set to be Oregon State's Friday night guy this year before he hit the portal. There was a ton of interest. He did have an arm injury that he was dealing with last year.
Yeah.
Again, I think him and Gackle are the two most important pitchers. Good news for Arkansas is that those are probably two of the best bullpen arms in the country. From a lineup standpoint, I thought it was weird what they did with Maxwell because he's been dealing with a ton of injuries.
I was very shocked.
That really shocked me.
So I texted you Friday night when they pulled Maxwell out. I'm like, oh, like they pull him for defensive replacement, especially in a tie game because he his number came up with like the bases loaded in the 9th or 10th, and it was the pitch hitter. And the pitch hitter, it wasn't Carson Bowles, it was someone else, and he was hitting like 220 all year. And it was probably one of the worst at bats I've ever seen in an SEC.
Was it Diggs?
It was Diggs.
Diggs is who came up?
Yes.
Let me see.
Diggs is like, I can probably pull it up.
I think it was Diggs. In what inning?
It was one of the later innings.
Let me see.
I'm on the SEC website or play-by-play.
Maxwell flew out with the bases loaded in the 7th.
That's what it was. I thought he got like benched for that or something.
No, he's been dealing with a little bit of a nagging injury. I forget what it is, but he's been injured pretty much all year.
Yeah, he doesn't. He starts Friday. Saturday when
it was Robinette.
Yeah, it was Robinette, and then Sunday he doesn't even start either. He came in. The pitch hit, but then he gets taken out later in the game. It was very weird seeing that. I mean,
yeah, I think that they need to rest him until the SEC tournament, get him healthy, or at least it's a weird thing though because Aloy Jr., if you will, only DHs. I think that that's the part that really kind of hampers this Arkansas lineup.
Well, something they can do is they did it yesterday. Is you can have they did it yesterday until they pitched hit him. Rocco Pepe started for Arkansas at first base. You can have Robinette in right field. You can have Robinette in right field and Rocco Pepe playing first base. So you don't have to. I mean, Carson Bowles, like he's been hitting like okay this season, but he's not been hitting like Logan Maxwell.
Cozell can play first too, if you feel comfortable about one of the, I know that they've had a few injuries at the second base position.
Play outfield too. Cozell played outfield at FGCU, didn't he?
Cozell went to Vanderbilt. You're confusing Cozell and Maxwell.
Oh.
Cozell played second.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what it was then. Okay.
But I think that Arkansas, this is just one of those weekends that you need. I know that sounds really weird to say because they've lost.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 or 5 now.
Yeah, I mean they went from being on top of the mountain, sweeping Texas last week, and then
they can't they went from beating the number one team in the country, who was statistically the best SEC team to start the year, to losing in a little league way.
yeah, I
In
mean,
1 week. Baseball's so funny.
Yeah, I mean Friday and Saturday, just like and Sunday, like they left a lot of runners on this weekend, and even in that Sunday game, it was just weird. Like LSU could have put themselves in the position to win in the bottom of the ninth if pitching went their way in the top of the ninth. Umpiring wasn't that good.
So
got ejected. So
this series last year played out the exact same way, if you will, because Arkansas. Oh wait, no, never mind. That was a different series. That was the year before. Never mind. Scratch that. But yeah, I mean, Jay Johnson gets ejected for no reason, if you will. The guy wanted to call it a strike, by the way. I know he's going to sit here and say that he didn't. He wanted to call a strike.
Yeah, he flinched. Jay
was like,
Jay literally told us that that he flinched. Jay literally said he flinched. You missed it.
He did.
Umpire,
he did miss it. I thought it was a strike. Did you?
Oh yeah, I thought it was. Well, okay. So one of the student managers up in the press box was saying the umpire called it a ball because of the way Luis Hernandez caught it. Which, like, in my head, it's like yes, but like in my heart, it's like no, because like it's a strike. It was a strike.
Yeah, it was a strike in every sense of the word. We'll move on to probably the series of the weekend from a atmosphere standpoint. Oh, do you have one more point?
Well, no. I was gonna. Oh, wait, no. We're going on to Ole Miss, Mississippi State here. Huh?
Yes. Okay, probably the biggest surprise for me personally with how the weekend played out, because it played out with Ole Miss tagging Pico Khan on Friday when he started to get tired. Hunter Elliott doing what he always does, going 5 2/3 with 3 walks. And every part of me was like, Ole Miss has this series. And then what happened next, just Evan Sierra has this outing of his life, going 8 innings, shutout, SEC Pitcher of the Week honors. Dominant outing. The place is rocking, if you will. And then they have a doubleheader that day and hold on, if you will, because they got up to a 6-1 victory and the bullpen kind of gave it up. But Carson Ligon and Evan Sierra, just 2 fantastic outings for those 2 guys.
This is okay. I don't want to be throwing Chris Lemonis' name out there because you're moving on to a new era of Mississippi State baseball. But this is what Chris Lemonis was hoping. Yes. He was hoping that Carson Ligon and Evan Sierra were going to be this versions of themselves. That's why he put them in the starting rotation to begin with. I mean, Ligon didn't help himself by walking 6 guys, but he put them in a damn good spot to like win that game pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, it was 2 impressive outings for those 2 guys. Credit to them. Brings you to a very fun fact, or a sad fact if you're an Ole Miss fan. Unless they hire Justin Parker full-time, Mike Bianco will have had a losing record to every coach that Mississippi State has had. That's John Cohen. That's Andy Cannizaro. That's Gary Henderson. That's Chris Lemonis. And that is Justin Parker. Just an unmitigated disaster for your Ole Miss. They lose their first road Sunday game, if you will, in Game 3. Yeah. Their Sunday woes, I think, finally caught up to them as Mason Nichols gets chased in the 4th inning. He was good, but his pitch count got a little bit high. McCass, I don't know what they need to do on Sunday. They have no feel for their Sunday guy. And I feel like Mason Nichols, and this is no slander to Mason Nichols, I think he could probably be a very important bullpen arm or pitch a Game 4. They have other guys that have stepped up that I feel like have earned that Sunday role.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week that
I was surprised. Like I was genuinely surprised
I was really shocked that we didn't. Did he even throw it all this weekend?
Yeah, Mason Morris threw after Honey Elliott. They went back to that, if you remember correctly.
Yeah, but
which is what they had been doing earlier in the years. They were going Elliott to Morris to McCaslin.
Yeah, and to be fair, it didn't even really work. He went 2 innings, 2 earned.
Yeah, but then last week they moved him up into Sunday. She's like, okay, like this is his audition. If Mason Nichols doesn't pitch up to the standard that I feel like Mike Bianco has for him, Mason Morris will slide into Sunday. And there's Mason Nichols in that graphic, if you will. Granted, Mason Morris didn't really pitch that good. Will McCaslin, I think, is another guy that really could kind of get talked about to move into that Sunday role. They really like him as a closer, I feel like, but flush it if you're Ole Miss. Tough to lose a game to your rival, but you really do have bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Ole Miss in any way.
If they play like they do Friday, though, I think that they could probably be a super regional team.
Yes.
If they play like they did on Saturday, they're going to go home really fast.
Yeah.
We'll move on into that final series, if you will. Probably the biggest shocker of the weekend. Missouri goes on the road, sweeps Texas A&M. An unmitigated disaster, if you will, if you're the Texas A&M Aggies, as they needed at 10 wins currently in the SEC. They played a team that was winless, needing 3 wins to get into the tournament, and now they are out at 10-17. They are a disastrous 27-23, 21-13 at home, RPI of 60 as it sits now. They are 6-14 against teams 1 through 25. Teams over 100, they sit at 13-4. An unmitigated disaster in every sense of the word. Texas A&M was cruising up 6-1 into the third inning, have a disastrous 6-run ninth. Saturday, they roll it over, they get no hit into the fifth, and then Sunday, they nearly get run rolled by probably the worst team in SEC history.
Yeah. I mean,
they had 2 hits Sunday, by the way.
Yeah, I watched it.
They had 2 hits Sunday. They had 2 hits Saturday. They had, let me see what it was.
So, Missouri. I mean, this is the team.
They had 2 hits after the third inning on Friday. So, over the course of the last 24 innings, they had 6 hits against a team that allowed 10 runs to Pine Bluff, against a team that allowed 10 runs to Southern on a weekend.
To a team that lost to Binghamton. To
a team that lost to
Binghamton. They split with Binghamton. It felt like the only guy that showed up for Texas A&M at first was Jay Slaviette. Then it was Caden Sorrell that showed up a little. But the quote that stood out to me was who spoke for them yesterday? Was it
Schott? Hayden Schott.
Hayden Schott spoke for them yesterday. Schott saying that Jace is pissed right now because he's not pissed about his draft performance. He's pissed because he hasn't been playing to the level that he knows he could play to help this team achieve what the true potential of this team has been, basically.
I should say this. Micah and I stopped yesterday on the way back.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
It was probably about 7 o'clock. I believe it was Jace Lavalette hitting. It was a very jacked lefty that was hitting for them in the cage. And then Caden Kent, I believe, was out on the field. I believe it was Caden Kent, by the way, because it was somebody standing at shortstop. This is probably the bleakest I've ever seen a team. That in the span of, 48 hours, everything for this team changed.
I mean, come on, man. What where are your shoes?
Oh, well, I wanted to channel my inner Jack DeLongchamp, if you will.
Where are your shoes? It's bad when I got Kendall Rogers replying to my stuff saying that it's being too harsh on you for that. And the funny thing is, I think you having your shoes off is still not one of the more disappointing things that happened in Bluebell Park this
I
week.
will say this, by the way. There's no subtle foreshadowing with the jacket. I had a few DMs about that. There's no subtle foreshadowing with the jacket.
I didn't even notice the jacket. What's with the jacket? Oh,
It was a funeral-esque. I don't know what's going to happen next with Texas A&M. They have 3 against Georgia this weekend, and then the SEC tournament. They're very fortunate that the SEC moved to the format that they did, because if it was a year ago, they would not have been in the tournament.
yeah, and I think they would. I don't think they would be wishing that they weren't making it, but
if they would have stolen one, it would have changed everything.
But the fact is, we shouldn't have been talking about this team like having to steal one. This is a team.
But 13 wins with an RPI in the 50s is just going to cut it.
It was at 30. Or no, it was at like 27 before the weekend.
Yes, it was an unmitigated disaster in every sense of the word. It's a bleak time for Texas A&M baseball. I don't really know what the future holds for them. I'm not even sure that the kids themselves really know what the future holds for them. At the end of the day, there is one guarantee. Chase Lavalette is going to the MLB draft. That is about the only thing that is guaranteed on this team right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, is this the first time that a preseason number one in college baseball hasn't made it?
Yes.
I looked it up, and it was telling me 2022 North Carolina. I'm like, no, I think that's college basketball.
It's never happened.
Yeah.
Since Kendall Rogers has founded D1, it has never happened.
I mean, I don't even think it's anything to do with Michael Early. I just think, I think Michael Early is still a good coach.
I think he's going to be a steal wherever he ends up, if he does get fired.
I don't think he will, though. I mean, a little part of me still thinks they're going to still end up scrapping this season. They'll be like, oh, we lost a bunch of recruits in the portal. We lost Dylan Volantis, Cooper Williams, and a bunch of other big guys to Texas because Schlossnagle went there. Because Dylan Volantis and Cooper Williams would have made a big impact in that Texas A&M bullpen probably.
Adrian Rodriguez would have been a good addition in the infield.
Yeah. It's just the greatest what if. What if this team had Jim Schlossnagle this year?
And on that bombshell, Andrew, we'll be back Wednesday to talk everything. We will talk A&M Georgia. We will talk Missouri baseball with Mississippi State and everything in between. Once again, this is Jake Mckeever with Andrew Riedell, signing off.